Copyright disclaimer under Title 17, U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. So this article is from archivecrin.org. And clearly, you guys, I'm not going to be reading on this screen. The print is about like 2 dots. So I'll be reading on my tablet and kind of scrolling along. But I may get kind of off on the wrong area because it all looks like little dots to me. It's really small. Australia. A Scientology's child labor camp exposed. Summary: in the middle of suburban Australia is a secret compound that is labeled as degrading and inhumane, with allegations of keeping children prisoner. Where have we heard that before? Dated 14 February 2012. Right in the middle of a quiet suburb is a place where children are separated from their parents. It's their rule number 1. And forced to work full-time for no pay and live in squalid conditions. Those who've survived this place say they were brainwashed into believing they could not leave, and that they deserve the shocking treatment dished out. The young man who escaped the place with the help of his father, Shane Kelsey, says, "I lived in that garage for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. We've heard stories like this before. I have compassion for some of the adults that go through these tortures, but I have way more compassion for the children. Who do you think are dishing out those punishments?" Shane is now 21 years old. Until just over a year ago, he had never used the internet, watched television, or followed the media. If there's any off-the-radar Scientologists listening to me, I know not all of you guys are diabolical. Please understand that. But you should really ask yourself why you're not allowed internet access, watching television, or following media. Okay, guys, I'll try to not interject too much, but because I know that's got to be irritating. But I just want to share my thoughts. Okay, back to Shane. Shane, you're not allowed to read any books other than Scientology books. You can't read newspapers, no radio, no movies, nothing, Shane said. Shane says he was held captive and groomed to see all of us on the outside as pathetic, useless, and stupid. Henceforth, that's the reactions we've been seeing, right? So I lived in a garage until that got flooded by a storm. And my mom got really pissed off and said, "What the hell?" And so I got moved into a closet. It is a closet under the stairs, maybe 2 meters long and 1 meter wide, Shane said. FBI, are you listening? I know it's in Australia, but still. More than 50 requests for interviews on camera with representatives from the Church of Scientology have been flatly refused. Sound familiar? The bottom line is they don't want people to know what's going on inside the center, and those who've lived in there, like Shane, say it's like a gulag or a prison, yet it's in the middle of a suburb, which could be any suburb in Australia. People would be horrified to know what has been going on in there for so many years and continues to this day. It's what the children of Scientology keep talking about, even though they're getting a little older now too. Nobody seems to listen. Shane Kelsey's mother and father were dedicated Scientologists in Sydney, so they put their son Shane into its highest core at the age of 6. I think that's code for Sea Org. I think. Little Shane moved into a tiny room with 11 other children. By the age of 7, Shane says, we'd go down the streets and there'd be 8 of us, 10 of us, and we'd go down and pledge people up to drug-free lives. I signed my contract when I was 8 years old. It was a billion-year contract, which means you're volunteering or serving or servicing the church for the next billion years, Shane said. We used to do marching, close order drilling, things like that, just because it was a form of discipline, he said. These are children, guys. No playing outdoors, no having a dog or a cat, no love from their parents. Shane saw his parents once a week. His mother and father would soon separate, and his dad, Adrian, moved overseas and then left Scientology. Meanwhile, the work schedule for children was full-time, hard and without reward. Working 35 hours a week when he was 8 years old. Oh, it makes me want to cry. Whew. By the time he was 14, the work changed to kitchen duty. A military muster every morning required marching and saluting to the cause of saving mankind from the intergalactic ravages described by the church's cult's science fiction founder, L. Ron Hubbard. The kids wore all black uniforms and were always required to run, never walk. How many kinds of abuse can we address here? Physical abuse, neglect, no nurturing, no love, manual labor, lifting heavy items that children shouldn't be lifting because their development is still in the process. So-called homeschooling was provided in fits and starts, taking a back seat to hard labor and brainwashing. As soon as you turn 15, any 1 year straight out of school, it doesn't matter what grade you're in, what level of maths, what level of anything, you're straight out, Shane said. Also, too, that is another method they use to control because they don't want the children getting their high school diplomas. So he must have been, I mean, it sounds like he was in Sea Org, but I don't know. I think some of them are public and they kind of go back and forth because the public Scientologists' children are the ones that get to go to school. Or maybe it was homeschooling. I don't know. The mess hall served food priced at 30 cents per meal, mostly beans and rice. The adults ate first. You see that? The adults ate first? Does this sound like Aleister Crowley's law of reversal? Inverting everything? Throughout the world, children always eat first, and then the adults eat. They would all come in and eat whatever they wanted, and then we went after them to take what's there. Sometimes there wouldn't be much, so you'd get little bits of food, and it really wasn't sufficient, Shane said. So sad. That's neglect. That's malnutrition. Those who dared question the brutality of this place were dealt with swiftly and severely. Sorry I keep interjecting, but you guys see why there's such a high SUICIDE rate? They used to live under our squash courts. It's a mud, dirt floor, Shane recalled. We put people in there, and they live in there. When they're on the RPF, they'd sleep down there, and they'd study down there. God knows what else happened. Why would you put people in a dank, moldy, stinking, sinking foundation underneath a squash court? They're treating these children like animals. By the age of 15, Shane was living a nightmare even he now struggles to believe. As soon as I turned 15, I was working 7 days a week, 14-hour days. That's 100 hours a week spent in a commercial kitchen. Shane and other children slaved away, cooking meals all day, every day, studying and snatching what little sleep they could. LAPD, are you listening? We'd get anywhere between $4 paid to $35 a week, Shane said. Among those who needed to be fed was billionaire James Packer. For several years, beginning in 2002, Packer came to the church cult of Scientology in the early mornings to receive auditing instruction. There's no suggestion Packer had any idea who was preparing his meals or their work conditions. Yeah, because nobody knows anything, right? Everybody's just living in a little cloud. Packer left Scientology around 2008. It would be more than 2 years until Shane made his break for freedom. In late 2010, Adrian Kelsey decided to rescue his son. He invited us to document his attempt and inform police of his plans to go to the compound and demand his son's release. He had protest signs ready if they refused to let him come out. When Shane came out to meet his father, it was the first time they'd seen each other in 4 years. Shane and Adrian were followed by Scientology enforcers. So Shane reluctantly returned to the compound to avoid trouble. See, they don't let people leave. This is a child. That's not even their child. 1 week later, he was sent to work near the compound's boundary and made a break for it. Sounds like a prison camp to me. Scientology have no right to mess with family, said Adrian Kelsey. It took Shane 14 months to shake off Scientology, discover the truth, learn about the real world, and tell his story. One thing that would be good is if they actually just stood up and said, sorry, it wasn't right. We're going to change it. But that is just not going to happen, Adrian said. That's why there's a lot of these folks I don't have compassion for. Pete O'Brien, who lived at the RPF base between 1997 and 2000, confirmed Shane's account of the appalling conditions. You do 2 hours of work, then you go and study for 2.5 hours. In the RPF, it was 5 hours, and then you go to work again, hard labor, picking with a rock pick, chipping away at rocks, till they erode, O'Brien said. Now a successful architectural designer, O'Brien believes Scientology has nothing of value to offer the community. It's my opinion that Scientology is a parasite. Close it down, doors shut, and all the staff members going back to their families and living their lives, O'Brien said. I was there for 10 years, all up in the cult of Scientology as a staff member, and how could I inflict that on my children? Which I'll forever feel like I have to make up, she said. Kind of missed something there. I don't know if that's his mom. Perth-based lawyer Grenene O'Donovan has devoted her time and expertise to help survivors of the cult seeking justice. There's not a law in New South Wales that makes it illegal to work a child for those hours. That's extraordinary, but that's the case, O'Donovan said. Although I think we do have rules in the United States, but they don't get followed, I don't think. O'Donovan has also campaigned with the internet-based activist group Anonymous that has raised awareness about Scientology. This is degrading and inhumane treatment, O'Donovan said. At some level, they, Scientologists, have become convinced, I suppose, that it's appropriate and that the group is more important than the individual, she said. RPF bases like the Sydney compound exist in other countries. Those who've escaped from them tell similar stories of having fingers broken on the orders of the leader of Scientology, screamed at and slapped for 20 hours straight, whilst having cold water poured over their head, and much more. Honestly, I don't care about the adults anymore. Independent federal Senator Nick Xenophon, has championed a campaign to shed light on the darkness at the heart of this group. Shane's story is one of shocking abuse, child abuse. It's one of a child being enslaved, Senator Xenophon said. The authorities need to investigate this urgently. This is something that requires police investigation, he said. LAPD, did you hear that? Yes, I know it's Australia, but you guys get the point. I mean, if you're real police. What makes this worse is that this organization is being subsidized by Australian taxpayers because it doesn't pay any tax. Bingo. Meanwhile, Shane has his father back, yet his mother, Leslie, remains inside Scientology. So that quote earlier must have been his dad, I guess. I hope she hears word of this and sums up the courage to actually find it and watch it, Shane said. She will have to escape. They won't let her go. Leaving's not an option, so she will have to escape, Shane said. The Church of Scientology refused to be interviewed for the story, as usual. In a written response, Scientology denied any mistreatment of its members. As usual, deny, 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 deny. Attack, attack, attack. The response also declared that anyone on the program is there because they want to be there. Oh, like a 6-year-old, right, who's doing manual labor away from his parents? Right. And that they are completely free to withdraw at any time during induction or later. Oh, right. When you got a 6-year-old locked in a 2-by-2 meter little closet, right? And you take their passport, right? When Shane left the church in late 2010, he simply got his bag and walked out the door, said the statement. I don't know how old he was there. I think maybe 15, possibly? I'm not sure. The celebrities used to advertise Scientology likely have no idea. I don't buy that. That people like Shane Kelsey even exist, but now they do. I don't buy it. I think the celebrities do know what's going on. Adrian and Shane hope they do something about it for the sake of other families. Senator Xenophone said he's taking the story to Bill Shorten, the federal minister for workplace relations. Okay, that's it, guys. I found some other articles I'm probably gonna read. I gotta get a bite to eat first. But anyways, I hope that was helpful and more evidence and proof of all the heinous abuse of children. You've got a young child living in a 2x2 meters closet full of mold, away from his parents doing manual labor. I personally suspect there's been a lot of deaths that are covered up. I do. So anyways, that's it. I'll put the link in the description. Peace.